It was a warm summer night in June of the year, 1978, when the air in Tokyo seemed unusually still and the neon lights buzzed faintly above the quiet streets. A young woman named Yo Taguchi, only 22 years old, and already the single mother of two children, finished her shift at the Cabaret Hollywood where she had been working some time. She had grown used to the routine. The polite goodnights, the sound of clinking glasses, the faint smell of perfume and smoke clinging to her clothes. She left the club just after midnight, stepping out through the front door, her footsteps echoing faintly on the pavement, and then, as if swallowed by the night, she was gone. At first, no one seemed alarmed. People assumed she had decided to quit, perhaps moving on to something new. Her manager years later would recall that she had simply failed to show up for her next shift, and everyone thought she had chosen another path. But beneath the surface there had been whispers, strange rumors circulating through certain parts of Japan about shadowy figures from North Korea operating in secret, abducting ordinary citizens. For reasons no one could quite explain, the Japanese government at the time dismissed these fears as nothing more than conspiracy talk tales invented to stir paranoia. Yo's case eventually went cold. The days turned into months, and then years, her absence becoming just another unanswered question, until almost a decade later, when a chain of events unfolded far from Tokyo that would bring her name back into the light. It was November 1987, and South Korea was preparing to host the Olympic Games in the bustling capital of Seoul. But before the celebrations could begin, tragedy struck. A Korean Airlines flight traveling over the Andaman Sea was ripped apart by a sudden explosion. 115 innocent lives lost in an instant. The investigation was swift and relentless, and it soon uncovered that two North Korean agents had been responsible. They had planted an explosive device inside an overhead compartment, then quietly disembarked during a layover in Abu Dhabi. As the authorities closed in, one of the agents bit down on a cyanide-laced cigarette, ending their life before capture. But the other was taken alive. During her interrogation, a disturbing truth came to light. She revealed she had been trained for this deadly mission for 6 long years. For 3 of those years, she had been taught by none other than Yo Taguchi, abducted from her home country and forced to teach Japanese language and customs so spies could blend in seamlessly. It was then revealed that Yo was far from the only victim. Over the years, the Japanese government confirmed that 17 citizens had been kidnapped by North Korea between 1977 and 1983, many taken in broad daylight without warning and ferried away on small boats. Some victims were snatched while walking down familiar streets. Others while enjoying a simple vacation. One woman was taken on her way to a knitting class. Another victim was only 13 years old, walking home from school. When she vanished, some were abducted to have their identities stolen. Others, like Yo, were forced into teaching roles for spies, preparing to infiltrate Japan. When the truth could no longer be hidden, the North Korean government admitted to the kidnappings, yet claimed that only 5 of the 17 victims were still alive. They even sent what they said were the cremated remains of several others, but DNA testing revealed the ashes were not who they claimed they were. The remains were fake, leading many to believe more victims were still being held against their will. To this day, the official stance from North Korea is that there were only 13 abductions, and that all surviving victims had been returned. Yet the Japanese government's list of possible victims stretches far beyond that number, with some estimates suggesting the true number could be closer to 800 lives stolen in silence. Given the unchanging political tensions, it is unlikely the full truth will ever come to light, or that those responsible will be held to account. Instead, their crimes remain like shadows at the edge of the world, waiting just out of reach. In the 1970s, another chilling truth emerged when journalist Seymour Hersh accused the CIA of carrying out assassination attempts against both foreign and domestic political figures who opposed war. His claims forced the U.S. Senate to open a sweeping investigation into covert abuses committed by the CIA, the FBI, and the NSA. What they found was a trail of surveillance programs and secret operations they had opened, and resealed private mail. They had illegally monitored activist groups, yet among these findings, one revelation stood apart from the rest. It was the whispered rumor of a weapon that could kill without leaving a trace, the heart attack gun. It sounded like something out of a fever dream. A pistol capable of firing a tiny dart over 300 feet, striking its target with such subtlety that the victim would feel nothing more than a faint pinprick. The dart would dissolve inside the body, leaving only a small red mark. The toxin it carried was harvested from shellfish and would trigger a fatal heart attack, invisible to any forensic pathologist. In 1975, CIA Director William Colby testified before the Senate committee admitting the agency had developed biological weapons under a program known as MK Naomi. Their intended purpose ranged from wartime sabotage to targeted assassinations. He explained that the heart attack gun was nearly silent, powered by a battery concealed within its grip, and designed for maximum stealth. When asked if it had ever been used on an actual person, Colby claimed it had been deployed only in experiments, yet no records of its use. Existed photographs from the hearing still show committee members handling the strange device. While Colby calmly answered their questions, the gun has never been seen again after that day. Its fate, a mystery, perhaps locked away, or perhaps still in use for purposes unknown. And if such a weapon existed in the 1970s, one can only imagine the tools that exist in secret now. For centuries, sailors spoke of monstrous waves rising out of nowhere, walls of water higher than any ship masts. Yet science dismissed their tales, labeling them as maritime myths. In 1826, a French captain swore he had seen a wave 108 feet high in the Indian Ocean. His crew backed his claim, but upon his return he was ridiculed. Scholars insisted waves taller than 30 feet were impossible. Still, the stories persisted, whispered from port to port in dark taverns and salt-scented docks. Then came New Year's Day in 1995, in the frigid North Sea off Norway. The Draupner oil platform stood against the winter gales, its sensors quietly recording the motion of the ocean. Without warning, they captured the arrival of an 84-foot wave, rising like a black wall from the depths, crashing with unimaginable force. It was the first confirmed evidence of what sailors had long feared: the rogue wave, a killer capable of breaking ships in two. Scientists now estimate that at any given moment 10 rogue waves may roam the world's oceans, and they strike without warning, sometimes formed when two massive wave crests meet at precisely the right moment, growing into something monstrous, large enough to swallow tankers whole. Even inland waters are not safe. In 1975, the SS Edmund Fitzgerald sank in Lake Superior under mysterious circumstances, and some believe she fell victim to a rare phenomenon called the Three Sisters. 3 rogue waves striking in quick succession, the first destabilizing the vessel, the second flooding her deck, the third sealing her fate beneath the freezing dark. During Prohibition in the United States, another truth lay hidden beneath whispers and rumors. When the 18th Amendment outlawed the sale and transport of alcohol in 1920, the black market flourished, speakeasies thrived, and the mafia grew rich. But alongside these illicit businesses came darker accusations that the government itself was poisoning alcohol to deter its consumption. For years, it was dismissed as baseless fear-mongering until New Year's Day 1927. When 41 people died in New Year's Day, York's Bellevue Hospital, all from alcohol poisoning. The victims had consumed industrial methanol known as wood alcohol, fatally toxic. Even in small doses, it was revealed that the government had for years ordered industrial alcohol to be denatured, made undrinkable, to keep it from being stolen for consumption. During Prohibition, they escalated this mandate, adding chemicals like methyl alcohol and quinine, making the liquid deadly to anyone desperate enough to drink it. but the black market was indifferent to the risk. People continued to buy and to drink and to die thousands over the years, victims of a policy that valued deterrence over life itself. And then there are the gorillas, creatures now so familiar in zoos and documentaries that it is hard to imagine a time when they were seen as mythical beasts alongside the Loch Ness Monster or Bigfoot. Yet, until a few centuries ago, gorillas were little more than rumors. The tales of explorers describing enormous man-like shapes in the forests of Africa. Their accounts painted the creatures as savage, bloodthirsty monsters. In the 1500s, an Englishman named Andrew Battelle, held captive on the West African coast, spoke of strange giant apes that lurked near his campfire at night. His description sparked fascination and fear in Europe for more than 200 years. Rumors swelled. Illustrations were sent home from Africa, gifted to kings and emperors who marveled at the supposed monsters. It was not until 1847 that American naturalist Thomas Savage found a gorilla skull, the first tangible proof of their existence. From there, the truth slowly took shape. Explorers brought specimens back to Europe, and by 1902, German explorer Robert von Behring encountered and killed two massive mountain gorillas, revealing the full size and strength of the adult creatures. The image of the bloodthirsty beast began to fade, replaced by a more grounded understanding, but the transition from myth to reality was slow and uneasy. Even today, one wonders how many other creatures roam unseen in the deep forests or the dark seas, dismissed as legend, until the Brody day someone stumbles upon their bones. These are the truths once hidden behind the veil of conspiracy, now laid bare. They are the stories that remind us that sometimes the whispers are not born from fantasy, but from the cold, hard breath of reality. And perhaps somewhere, even now, another truth waits patient in the dark for its moment to be seen.